The story is told that long ago the Prince of Chiang Mai had a white elephant, which went wild. When it began crashing down trees and demolishing houses, the elephant was banished to Gok Klang, a small island on the outskirts of town, where it remained for 30 years until it died. Thereafter, the townspeople believed this land to be uninhabitable, haunted by the spirit of the wild white elephant. Thus, when a young foreign doctor petitioned the prince for the use of the island, his request was granted. Dr. James McKean was an American Presbyterian missionary working in Chiang Mai a century ago. He was particularly troubled by the plight of those afflicted with leprosy. Many of them roamed the countryside, rejected and homeless. Some camped along the River Ping, beneath the bridge in town. In 1908, the 150-acre property, 8 kilometres downstream, became the site for his new work, establishing a colony for leprosy sufferers. Dr. McKean, fellow missionaries, and Thai colleagues began by constructing bamboo homes, replacing these later with wooden ones, and eventually with stucco. In 1914, the first hostel was added, followed by dormitories, later to become hospital wards, and a water tower. They built a bamboo church, which was later rebuilt as the beautiful structure with flying buttresses that we see today. A school was constructed for children with leprosy. A second school and dormitories for patients' children not afflicted with the disease were located opposite McKean Gates. Later came a Bible school, offering training to patients keen to study the Christian faith. Word spread quickly. Those suffering from leprosy were welcome to live in the McKean community. Leprosy sufferers came from all over Thailand and from as far away as Laos and southern China. Many came on foot. Some children with leprosy were simply deposited outside the gates. Gradually, 5 neat villages grew up on the island. Residents received tasks according to their physical abilities. Daily work teams were assigned jobs such as building, making tools, spinning and weaving in the mornings. In the afternoons, they did gardening. Others proudly donned uniforms as members of the island's police force. Some were trained to provide nursing care services in the wards. In fact, until 1970, it was mainly ex-patients who provided the nursing care in McKean Hospital. Within less than 20 years, a model colony had come into being. How was all this work supported? Contributions to McKean came from many sources, including Dr. McKean's church contacts back home, the Mission to Lepers, later known as the Leprosy Mission, some of the expatriate community in Bangkok, and some government funds. However, during the Depression years, the missionaries found it increasingly difficult to support McKean's expanding population. They also wanted to provide help for patients nearer to their home communities, so they began to reach out beyond the island's boundaries. They purchased land up country and trained some patients as health workers to provide care locally and to refer cases to McKean when necessary. Groups of patients gathered around these centres, and McKean bought additional land for them to farm. Eventually, 22 leprosy villages were set up in this way. In Thailand, as in every society, leprosy, or Hansen's disease, is a condition that was greatly feared and considered incurable. Early on, the best available treatment was the hydrocarpus oil from the chalmugra tree. Trees producing this hard nut fruit still line the roadway around McKean. But during those years, the patients probably gained most benefit from the improved diet and the health care which boosted their general immunity. After the Second World War and the advent of the sulfone drugs, dapsone emerged as a cure for leprosy. For 20 years, twice a week, the sound of the beating of the hollow bamboo rang out around McKean, calling patients from their various tasks and cottages. They lined up and received a dapsone tablet, a drink of water, and later their pocket money. In addition to offering treatment, McKean staff taught patients and their families how to prevent disabilities and what to do about possible complications. They also taught the known facts about the disease and devoted extensive effort to research in order to learn more. What then do we know about leprosy? Leprosy is a disease caused by a bacillus, Mycobacterium leprae, which affects skin and nerve tissue. 96% of people have a natural immunity. 2% have some immunity, but may suffer nerve damage, which can lead to permanent impairment if not prevented immediately. The remaining 2% who lack immunity require the multi-drug therapy treatment, which has been in use since the early 1980s. Within a few days of initiating treatment, the patient is no longer infectious, but must continue the treatment for the prescribed period of time. The encouraging message is that leprosy is just another medical disease, and early treatment can provide cure and prevent disability. Through the years, McKean became actively involved in public health education to share this message. Staff crossed over the bridge from McKean to dispel old myths and fears about leprosy, to teach people to recognise the early signs, and to reduce social stigma. By the 1970s, they were sharing information in schools, at fairs, and even on television. This was the period when the World Health Organization began to promote integration and rehabilitation for leprosy patients. Building on its earlier effort towards decentralized care, McKean set up 5 additional clinics in the town and countryside. These enabled leprosy patients to access outpatient care alongside general dermatology patients. The McKean Mobile Health Team visited all the former leprosy villages to provide healthcare supervision. The agricultural team helped rural patients improve their farming practices and establish buffalo and cattle banks, and gave them small interest loans. McKean staff had another challenge. How could they empower the hundreds of residents at the centre to return to their former homes? There were many barriers to overcome. One major obstacle was stigma. Patients were reluctant to move away from McKean because they had suffered stigma before and knew they would suffer it again. McKean implemented several strategies in this regard. Social workers visited families and communities to promote understanding and to help overcome the problems of stigma. Many patients underwent reconstructive surgery to restore function, or cosmetic surgery to remove telltale stigmatizing signs of leprosy. Yet another form of stigma to be tackled was economic in nature, the fact that leprosy patients were viewed as a financial burden on their family. McKean had addressed this issue from the beginning, employing a holistic approach to rehabilitation, equipping patients with vocational skills that would provide a sustainable livelihood, helping patients gain a sense of dignity and self-esteem. With a great deal of effort, most of the many hundreds of patients in the colony were rehabilitated by 1985. But what about those who had no family or home to return to? McKean built its final 2 resettlement villages to provide homes and livelihoods for those able to work. One of these villages was called Canaan, built upon the dry earth between a river and a main roadway. McKean irrigated the land and helped patients start homes, gardens, and later orchards. After 10 years, the settlers gained ownership of their own land. Mr. Jamnian Rakwong was one of them. Forced to leave school and home after contracting leprosy at the age of 8, Jamnian suffered rejection and great hardships before he was finally able to receive treatment from a missionary clinic. McKean encouraged him to join the new Canaan adventure. Jamnian gradually established his home and surrounding gardens. Determined to make a good future for his wife and young children, he eagerly learned all he could about organic farming techniques and experimented on his land. Today, his extensive farm, with orchards, flower and vegetable gardens, fish ponds, and beehives, displays a lush example of natural farming. Jamnian is recognised as an expert in natural farming. He has been selected to share his knowledge with students and international groups and teach in the universities. In 2005, Jamnian was feted in Dublin Castle and presented with the Wellesley Bailey Award, recognising the way he has overcome tremendous difficulties as a leprosy sufferer and for his contribution to society. Vocational skill training has been a mainstay in McKean's rehabilitation efforts. In 2007, McKean formalised some of its trainings into sustainable livelihood courses. Topics taught in McKean include producing the microorganisms needed for organic farming, making natural compost, care of pigs, ducks and chickens. They learn how to plan integrated garden plots, producing a variety of vegetables and fruits, and to prepare products for local sales. Trainees can learn home-based activities, such as making shampoo and dishwashing detergent. McKean also provides training for personnel and groups visiting from other countries who are involved in leprosy work and rehabilitation. When the rehabilitation policy was introduced, there were many McKean residents who, like Jamnian, had lost all contact with their families for many years. McKean staff recognised that some were too old and too disabled to start again in community. The North Village in McKean was set aside as a residential community for those individuals and is thriving to this day. Residents elect their own leader and village committee, who work with McKean staff to plan village events. Those who can care for themselves live in the cottages, while the blind and infirm live in 2 hostels. Those who require more assistance are cared for in the nursing home wards. Some residents enjoy involvement in activities such as early morning exercises, singing in the church choir. Some spend time gardening, while others have special skills like sewing. Handcrafts and other income generation activities have long been a key part of McKean's ministry. In the early years, resident patients had sheltered workshops where they engaged in blacksmith work, dressmaking, printing, woodwork, and producing lacquerware. Today, patients and their families do most of the craft work in their own homes. Many patients have found a new sense of worth through the production of beautiful crafts, and they receive a fair price for their work. Any profit margin from sales helps McKean support its own charity work amongst the many marginalised and poor patients seeking help. Rabiep was just a child when she came to McKean. She lived in the children's dormitory and attended school. She needed leprosy treatment, plastic and reconstructive surgery, and deep inner healing. Rabiep trained in handcrafts and became skilled in embroidery. Hands that were once useless now produce beautiful work. Today Rabiep works in the McKean Handcraft Workshop, making designs, teaching cross-stitch to patients, and sending cloth, patterns and payment out to those producing cards in their own villages. Rabia first met her husband, Dee, when they were both in training. Dee trained in shoemaking and is now a key member of McKean's prosthetics and orthotics team. He is an example of a former patient who was offered full-time employment by McKean, as were many who had served for a long period in important roles. His own experience makes him an empathetic listener, keen to protect insensitive feet prone to damage. In addition to making protective footwear and insoles, his department also produces artificial limbs and leg, back and neck braces. These aids have benefited more than leprosy patients alone, as McKean has reached out to others in need also. In the 1980s, McKean staff reviewed the national leprosy situation and the needs of the general community. They found that Thailand was seeing a great decrease in the number of new leprosy cases. Yet thousands of leprosy patients from the past still needed assistance to live productive lives. In addition, McKean staff found that physically disabled people often lacked adequate support and required the same type of rehabilitation services as leprosy patients. McKean determined to become an extended general rehabilitation facility, integrating leprosy and disabled patients. McKean planned a purpose-built new rehabilitation hospital building to upgrade facilities for its integrated services. Opened in 1994, this facility includes large airy therapy rooms, a communicating orthotics and prosthetics department, and 2 wings of wards. Providing wheelchairs to those who needed them was another service McKean commenced in the 1980s, since self-propelled wheelchairs were unavailable in Thailand at that time. An on-site wheelchair-making workshop began producing custom-made chairs from locally available materials. In conjunction with an international technical project, McKean developed a push-pull tricycle for road use, which has proven popular and practical. McKean even produced a racing wheelchair model, which won 2 marathons. Branching out again in the 1990s, McKean initiated community-based rehabilitation in various districts, working with the local health officers to establish programs with the disabled. They trained local volunteers to help with exercises and to facilitate disabled people's greater mobility and integration into the community. Nong Lak had cerebral palsy and had never walked in her life. Everything changed after she joined one of McKean's community-based rehabilitation projects. After regular exercises, she is able to walk now with the aid of something to lean on. Additional exercises have strengthened her arms and hands so that she's able to do intricate handwork that earns a small income. Approaching its 100th year and reaffirming its strong Christian motivation for community service, McKean reaffirmed its goal to minister to the needs of those afflicted by leprosy and physical disability, as well as the elderly. Aged care has become a significant need in Thai society as the proportion of elderly in the population increases. The traditional family compound style of living has disappeared, leaving many older people without their extended family to lean on. People are living longer, but often require care due to strokes and dementia. In 2007, McKean announced its plan to provide multi-tiered aged care, opening new nursing home care wards in the hospital. In 2008, the cornerstone was laid for the Dok Gao Centre, which includes a central community building, wings of units for semi-independent elderly, and the secure Jasmine House for mobile residents with dementia. McKean is gradually renovating and opening small units for independent elderly. We believe this is pioneering the Aging in Place services of a multi-tiered aged care centre in Thailand, in our beautiful green setting. McKean Rehabilitation Centre has come a long way since the days when the story of the wild white elephant still lingered in people's minds. Since the times when people dreaded leprosy so strongly that McKean was a colony cut off from the outside world. McKean has been recognised for its exemplary service to the most marginalised in society in different eras, and owes a debt of gratitude to all the unnamed individuals who made this possible by their hard work and faithful support over the years. Although founded on an island, McKean continues to build bridges, sharing love, healing and hope with those in need, as the ancient banyans and regal rain trees spread out their arms over McKean, bringing shade and beauty to this once desolate spot. So God, in all his grandeur, works through the hands and hearts of those who live and labour in the shadow of his wing, blessing them with healing and wholeness.